Welcome to this week's episode of Art Wisdom with Chris and Kat. And this week it's part 4 of why your marketing isn't working. And today we're talking about implementation. But first of all, we'll have a quick maybe recap because what we're going to talk about today, you'll need to have done all the other work before. So your purpose and your mission and your values have been the last 3 podcasts of why your marketing isn't working. And if you haven't done them, you really need to go back and have a look at them, because everything we're going to talk about today is using those 3 steps.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think most of the time when people come to us and say, hey, nothing's selling, I can't find the clients, and the truth is that you have to do the foundational work in order for it to actually work. It's no good having gimmicks on how to produce content or how to do different marketing things if you've not got the premise of who you are and what you stand for and what, because how do you attract people? So yeah, definitely go back and look at those 3 podcasts and do a bit of the work. For sure. It doesn't take long.
It's well worth doing, for like a total thing for yourself, not even to do for the marketing. It's like to finding out more about you, because all of this that we do is finding out more about ourselves. And when you said there, like the gimmick of marketing, and I think a lot of us feel like when we start doing marketing on social media that it's just a gimmick, and for a lot of people it just is, and that's why it doesn't work as well, because they're just putting stuff out there that they're not even really believing, or they just feel like they're adding to the crowdedness out there, so they're not really doing it well as well.
Right, exactly. So but so what we're talking about today obviously is like putting all of those things into practice. So just a high level, obviously purpose is like why you exist, your reason for being on this earth, making the art that you do, or whatever it is, in whatever form of creative media. Mission is where you see, it's like the North Star. It's like where you're heading. So for instance, your 10-year goal. Values is basically, it's like your guiding principles. It's like what you stand for as a person. So like your sort of attributes, I had like my number 1 attribute was badassery last week. But go back and listen to those and work through those, find your purpose, mission, and values. But then it's all well and good coming up with all those things, but you have to put it into practice, and you have to make it into from just ideas, thoughts to an actual reality. It's like, how do you do that? And honestly, the most important thing is to start creating content around your purpose, mission, and values. So, and I honestly truly believe this. No one's going to show up at your door and make art sales if they don't know you exist. And the truth is that you have to put yourself in front of people. Now, some people prefer to do that in a physical setting. Totally fine. Some people are doing it in a digital setting. Totally fine. We do a bit of both. But the truth is you've got to put yourself out there, because you don't want to be the world's best kept secret. If you are hoping to make this, into an entrepreneurial business, people have got to know about you.
Yeah, even if it's a hobby for you, but you do want to sell. And it's also, it's not even that you do want to sell, you do want to share what you've got. And that's what it's about. When you find out your reason for doing your art and for wanting to put it out there, you will have a really good message that you want to talk to people about. Because I think that's a big thing, isn't it? When we get on social media, when people say, I don't know what to post every day. You don't know what to post every day because you don't know your voice, you don't know your story, and you don't know why you're even bothering. So it's still going back to finding out why you're bothering, because once you know that, you'll have content, and it doesn't need to be fresh new content all the time, because you'll have something you're passionate about that you want to talk about. You want to educate people about maybe be the best you can be. Like, I'm an artist, I want people to be the best they can be. So part of my story or my journey as a person is to encourage people to do what they can and to put themselves out there. So every time I write content, or, you know, my big thing is the podcast, sharing our knowledge, sharing our joy, and that's marketing. That's marketing as well, because people get to see us and get to know us. But for me, I'm doing it in a way that is like so much fun, so exciting, and I can't wait to do it every week.
You're right when you say that, because here's the thing, like, it can feel very embarrassing and a bit weird to just big yourself up all the time, right? That, because I think that when people approach like marketing, they think that's what it must be, you know. And we live in this like influencer world where it's all about me on my private jet, or me next to my Lambo. Do you know what I mean? That's not actually good marketing. It's terrible marketing, really, because it's soulless and it's vacuous, right? So instead of talking about how amazing we are as individuals, because it's actually not about that, it's about sharing the things that we're passionate about. I'm passionate about space. I think that going on adventures, I think that people getting under the stars, I think just the beauty of the universe. I could talk and honestly, it's always like, whatever you could talk the hind leg of a donkey. I don't know if that is a saying elsewhere in the world, but it means you won't shut up about it. Right? It becomes less scary in a way, right? When you're promoting stuff, you're not promoting you're promoting the idea, the thing that you believe so deeply in, or the thing that you just find super curious, or whatever it is that is your purpose, mission, and values, that you've written them down for a good reason. And it's funny because like, there'll be times when you write, you know, it takes a while to get them right. And initially you might not have, like when I started my purpose, mission, and values, I was still trying to figure out, like, how does it all connect to my artwork? You know, like one of my attributes was this idea of like de-stressing, you know, feeling relaxed. And I was like, you know, or like, and I'd associated it with a time in my life it was really stressful, you know, leaving the gaming industry and all that stuff. And I was trying to figure like, what has space got to do with that? But then I realized after, you know, putting it out there, that people would get back to me and be like, yeah, actually, I look at space and it just makes me feel super relaxed. And actually, that's why I want to have it around my house. It just reminds me of the greater picture, and it puts me into life into perspective, and it makes me feel really calm. And I was like, oh, okay, there is some reason, like there's some method to the madness, you know. And I think a lot of times people will look at their artwork, and especially if it's abstract, and be like, how do I define a meaning? But it's actually strange, because like, it doesn't create the work that you're compelled to create, and have the story, you know, and have the purpose, mission, values that are, you know, you're compelled to do. And you will find that they will connect over time. They will change a little bit as you are working it out, you know, but as you work it out, they connect. But then it becomes super easy. Well, I say super easy, but it becomes way easier to start to create content, right? But that is the really important thing, is that you have to start talking about these things either audibly with a video or in a written format, but you have to communicate this stuff at great lengths so that other people who are also interested in that can find you.
And it's fine, you know, like you talk about space all the time, you know, because people are sort of, well, how much is there to say about a certain subject? But it's okay that you repeat stuff. You don't have to be reinventing the wheel every time you're posting something, because you know, you're talking on the same subject. You can definitely put different slants on it. You know, you can go from a positive point of view, you can look at it from a negative point of view, you can look at it from, you know, your friends' experiences that you've had. So there's lots of angles that you can talk about it. But yes, it's the same subject. And it's the same subject because that's what you're about. And that's why people will be attracted to you. So if you keep, you know, like if Kat started talking space, but then she started talking about nature and started about something else, it's like we've talked about this before about your Instagram feed. If you look at that,
Right.
you
If
know
I
what
suddenly
it's
started talking
about.
about random things.
Yeah. So you don't have to be different. You have to be this, you have to be consistent. You have to be the same.
And you have to be authentic.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, be consistent, but I think it's just a given that at the beginning, as you're trying to figure it out, it's gonna morph a little bit as you work things out, because you'll have aha moments as you go through it. And
Yeah.
it might change the direction a little bit, but on the whole, it'll start to make sense, for
Starts to
sure.
make sense, but if you've done those purpose and mission and your values before, you're going to be a lot more along the track than if you just go,
Oh
well,
gosh.
I'm not going to bother with them and I'll just start marketing, which is probably what you've been doing all along.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
like,
well, how much fun is that when you just go in?
yeah,
You just, I know for me, before I didn't do any of this thing, I just felt like I was adding to the congestion and the rubbish on social media. And I didn't want to be part of that. So it's very hard to keep marketing if you're thinking, I'm just adding to junk here. But if you feel like
yeah.
you're adding quality, it's different.
Yeah, and quality really comes because it's attached to a deeper meaning and a deeper purpose.
Mm.
Like when it's purposeless, is that a word? Probably
It's
not.
now.
Purposeless. Um, it is just noise. It's static. It's like, it's posting a picture and being like, this is a photograph of a lake. It's just
Yeah.
posting a painting. This is a blue painting. This
Mm.
is, this is a picture of a bird. All
Yeah.
right. Great, well done. But that doesn't share why it's important. It's,
Yeah.
it's not just, and that's the thing. It's like people become super disconnected when they start to engage with your content if you don't have these backs, the reason why you're doing it. This is the lake. So it's a bit like, showing a picture of a lake, right? And you could just say it's a lake. And that's what 90% of people and artists do online. They'll be like, it's a insert very specific literal words, but they don't explain what they mean or why they're important. Giving the story about like, I've been stressed all day and I've been overwhelmed and I came here and it just peeled off me and I just felt the breeze in the air and everything. So every time that person sees that picture of the lake, they connect with that, because there are people that are very, very stressed, for instance, in their daily lives. People in intense jobs in all different sectors, and they see that, and then that picture then becomes a representation of that.
Yeah.
And that's how you find because your clients are online. It's just that unless you start being unless you start expressing from your core, like what's in your soul as far as like your purpose, mission, and values, no one's got anything to connect to. You can't connect to. It's a picture of a lake. I'm just using that as an example because
And there's so much out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and I find myself, I get caught into that trap. Sometimes I'm just like, this is a nebula. Why? Who cares? Though, of course, we all know it's bloody nebula. I mean, some people will go on as far to like copy a bit from Wikipedia and paste it alongside it. Great, wonderful. But realistically, explain why it means it, what it means to you, why it's so cool, how it makes you feel, experiences when you were painting it, or like what were the experiences felt like when you finished it. Because of course, everyone produces artwork. In the middle is always a bloody dog's dinner because there's an ugly phase of every artwork. Well, 99.9% of artworks. So you don't necessarily have to share that bit, I suppose, unless you want to, unless that's part of your purpose, mission, and values, which it could be. But it could be just making the way through the hard bits. If that's not necessarily part of mine, so I don't necessarily talk about it. But the point is that you got to authentically and enthusiastically talk about why you're so passionate about whatever it is.
Yeah. And like when we start this, we may not get any feedback at all. It may just go unheard, but it really helps us if we're actually talking and feel like we're making a difference with our content. So that's what keeps you going. because marketing, you know, you can be knocking on a door for a while and nothing's going on for you. But if you're making content that you feel is important and you need to share it, you're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of doing these exercises, because it will keep you going. Because you know, you're probably not going to get success straight away with, you know, oh, you start sharing about your space or your you know, personal growth things or whatever it is for you. You know, it's probably just you're not going to get
Well, you might
response. You might get
on the
massive response,
whole,
but if you don't, I suppose if you get massive response, you don't have an issue. You're going to carry on. You're going to feel motivated. The thing is, it's if you don't, and then you start getting demotivated, it's like, well, hold on.
What's the point?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, you say, what's the point? But then you sort of go, oh, hold on. It doesn't really matter. If one person has seen that, I might have changed somebody's day by that comment that I've made. So it's not, doesn't come back to being about us and being about our art. It's like, I might have made a difference to one person today who's seen that message. So it does keep you going when you're not motivated. It's easy to be motivated when it's flying.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah. I mean, you've got to keep on going in the face of all of it. And it can be very demotivating at the beginning when you're not getting all the sales or the people or whatever it is. That's fine. But the reality is that with marketing, with anything, right? With anything, you know, someone has to really see their work and engage with the work, God, 20 or 30 times, because half of those times, maybe 2/3 of those times, people aren't fully paying attention because they're just in the scrolling, right? So if you think about it, people have got to see the stuff multiple times. They've got to read it. They've got to engage with it multiple times before they get it. Do you know what I mean? Like if I said, like it's like learning a language, right? If I just said one sentence in French or one word in French, would you understand French? And you'd just no, you wouldn't. You'd have to listen to it multiple times, and then you could start piecing it together so you understand the landscape of what it, you know, what the language is, right? Everyone has their own thing, but you have to realize that people have to have these multiple touch points and understand what you're about because you talk multiple times about it. And also, not everyone sees every piece of content. So even if you say the same thing over and over, it's fine. You think about Gary Vee, right? He says the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah. Frank Kerr.
He needs to.
They just all do. They all, you know, and that's what I love. Like I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. That's what I love. When I go to these seminars, I'm not hearing a different tale every time I go from this person, because I go to this person because I know what I'm getting. But yes, it's just, you've got to keep, it's okay to keep saying the same thing, but just in a different way. Don't keep just repeating yourself for this.
Yeah, you don't want to entirely copy paste, but it is okay to just repeat the same message in different ways.
Yeah. Because it takes time to get through. And that's why with these personal development courses that you go on, I might go and see somebody a number of times, because one time I heard a certain thing and then I'm in a different stage of my life, or, you know, I just walk in at a different stage of the event and I hear something that I think, I've never heard that before. And it's the same thing that's being said all the time, but we just pick up certain things when we're ready to hear them. So
100%.
Don't be scared. And as you say, social media, how many people get to see your posts anyway, you know?
Right. Someone said something really lovely. I was like, don't worry about making a bad post because no one will see it. And I thought but that is also another thing, right? So we've got over the purpose, mission, and value, the actual core soul of what you are, because who's going to be able to even appreciate you as a creative if then no one knows what you bloody stand for? Like having a pretty piece of artwork isn't enough anymore. It really is not, because you know, there's AI that people can just generate stuff. They are there because what you are selling is little pieces of purpose and meaning, right? But once you've got that and you realize, okay, now this is what I've got to talk about. I've got to talk about these purpose, mission, and values. I've got to talk authentically and enthusiastically about the things that mean. But even so, quality, you know, you've got to, I've got this thing, right? It's not the algorithm, it's you. And that's a hard thing to say.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? Because yes, occasionally people get lucky breaks or whatever, and that does happen, but by and far we see that a good piece of content just goes really far. So it's really important to create quality content, but quality doesn't mean high effort. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, you don't need to produce a feature film. You might just need good lighting. You know, and you have to understand the platform that you're putting content out on. So, you know, what are the best aspect ratios? Is it better to do it, be really close in or really far back? Like, look and actually consume the content, but consciously, you know, 10-10 method, 10 hours of using a platform, asking yourself, why did I scroll past this? Why did I stop on this? Why did I click on this thumbnail? Why didn't I click on this? What is something on the page I totally ignored? Oh, I totally ignored that. I wonder why. Be so curious, because it's not the algorithm, it's you. Like, when people say, oh, the algorithm doesn't like this, the audience doesn't like this. They've skipped past it. And you just replace the word algorithm with audience every single time, because that's the truth. The algorithm doesn't actually technically exist. It does, but it is basically attuned to what the audience wants. So it's only giving the audience what it wants. If the audience doesn't engage with the content, it's not going to share it with more people, is it? And it could be something as basic as the footage of you talking about it is like shaky. It could be something like, you know, the lighting is really poor, or it's a really bad camera and it's very crummy, or it could be that, you know, the audio is like piercing, or it's too fast, or it's boring as hell, or it doesn't make any sense. Like, people look at it for 3 seconds, they don't get what it's about, and they scroll on. And I know that can feel overwhelming to be like, right, you've got to learn how to use a platform. But the truth is that all of the good and all of the bad is already being presented to you. So you've got to use the consciously and take note of, and just use you as a sample of one. What do you stop on? What don't you stop on? And use that to inform you on how to produce your content. And pay attention to details. What font are they using? What, you know, are they cropping in, or are they making the video all the way to the edges? Like, ask all of these questions. But ultimately, if it's not being shared far right, which you've got what you need to say, it's about putting it in a way that goes far. And especially when it comes to like reels or YouTube shorts or anything like that, you know, you've got to create engaging content. But once you have, and it's so funny, because it's like this crazy logarithmic curve, right? A logarithmic curve is almost like flat, 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 shoots up, right? And that's, if you could imagine your content as a quality score, it's like, it doesn't, if it was a quality 10, it does nothing. If it's got quality 20, it does nothing, 20%. If quality is like 30%, smidge. Even if it's up to 70%, you get just a tiny bit, but then you go to 80%, you get a good chunk. And if you get to 90% amazing quality, then it shoots through the ceiling. And it's the difference between being shown to 50 people and 5 million people. So, but again, the funny thing is, it doesn't have to be high effort. It just has to be high quality. And like, what makes good high quality is like, it based on the platform, of course, but, you know, making sure your colors are balanced, making sure that you've got good lighting, it's not shaky footage, or if it's a still photograph that you're posting, you know, pay attention to aspect ratio. You know, people are using their phones, so it needs to be tall. Look at the colors, look at the intensity, is it clear? All of those kind of things. You know, and when it comes to making things like YouTube content, it's all about the title and thumbnail. So sometimes you just have to test. But ultimately, once you've got your message and you're starting to generate content, you need to start to optimize to make it go viral. And we've kind of done a few podcasts already on this, and maybe it's something we go into more depth with later on as well. But yeah, it's not the algorithm, it's you. So to keep on evolving that side of things.
I love that it's not the algorithm, and change the algorithm to audience. because that
Yes.
just makes it, well, I suppose people have excuses, don't they? Like the algorithms changed and all that. But if you say even the
Right.
audience has changed, that's fine too. But what does the audience want?
Right. Because
Yeah.
actually that's very true as well. Like, here's the thing, you can find the same thing, right? And you can rinse and repeat. So you'll find a method that works, right? And you're doing it and it works and it works and it works. But people get bored. So I
Yeah.
mean, people like a bit of variety,
Yeah.
not so much variety. Once you found something that works, you can hammer it out, but don't feel like, oh, all of a sudden, my posts that used to do so well and now they're not doing really well.
Yeah.
And of course, I understand that certain platforms promote different types of media. So back in the day, Instagram was very good for photos. It's now all about reels. That's just a part of it. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with you uploading a reel with just a photograph and some text. Like, be creative. Like, I've seen a lot of people do that, and that's okay. So think about. But so the algorithm only matters in that sense, like which type of media, just as long as you're making the right type of media for that platform. As an example, Twitter is always going to be promoting images over videos. And if you can get a hit text tweet, it's going to promote that over images often. But for artists, images always outperform videos. Always do, because Twitter's not a platform optimized for video at this time, which it could change. But you find that out by using the platforms.
Yeah.
That's it.
And now, like, with you talking all of that, if anyone's feeling like getting overwhelmed with it all, just stick with one platform. Just start with one platform and, figure that one out, because it can get overwhelmed where you end up, you're not doing anything at all. So just start with one.
Even I do that. I started using Facebook and I got my Facebook to about 10,000 people. And then I moved over to Instagram, and then I got my Instagram to, I don't know what it is now, 250,000 people. And then I moved over to Twitter, and then I grew my Twitter to 150,000, and now I'm moving to YouTube. But I'll set it up so it posts from one platform to another, for instance, or I actually have now an assistant that will do some of that manually. But I only ever personally focus on one platform at a time, because it's very difficult and it can be very overwhelming to manage all of these and do your art and do all the business stuff and do the marketing, the packing, the picking, and all of that other bits in between. So you're right, just focus on one, but do make content, and make content about the things that we spoke about, because again, it's all well and good having purpose, mission, and values, but if you don't communicate it, it's a secret.
Use them, because this is you, this is what you're about, and this is what you want to share with people. And with you doing that, the following and the art sales and whatever you desire will just follow behind. So so maybe we should go away. It's not about the marketing, it's not about the art sales, it's about you sharing what's passionate to you. On a daily basis.
Every day, every single day, a little bit. Just put it out there. And again, don't have to make it so it's overwhelming. But, and also like spending a bit of time understanding each platform, or the platform of your choice, whatever that's going to be, is important. But like the truth is that part 4 is about doing the work. And
sorry, like, no easy way out of this, is there?
The golden bullet is do the hard yards. That's the golden bullet.
Do the hard yards, but if you're on purpose, and if you speaking your truth, if you're being authentic and you're just doing you, if you're just doing you, it shouldn't be that difficult.
Or at least the hardness is easier to tolerate. I would say that you're right. It's not necessarily that it becomes super easy, but whatever challenges become worthwhile. Like, it becomes worthwhile because you're sharing your purpose, and you're sharing your mission, you're sharing your values, you're sharing the things that are the most core important things to you, and hopefully you're like, because that's what I realized about art, because I spent a lot of time in it. God, which artist doesn't think this? Like, what's the point of art? Why? Because like, no one's going to die if it doesn't exist. It's not like an essential service. But what would life be without art? You know, imagine no movies, no fine cuisine, no music, no theater, no patterns. Everything's bland. Everything's beige. And not that beige is a bad problem, but you know, everything's like gray and functional and nothing more. And life, of course, you could live it, but it might not be worth living for that. Not that, you know what I mean? It makes, like someone said about fine wine, is that it doesn't, you know, you're not going to die without it, but it makes life way more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've done your purpose and the mission, so you know why it's important to you.
Yeah.
And it might even be about the art. It might just be about sharing more. You happen to do art, but you're sharing whatever's important to you. You can tie the art in.
Yeah.
Even if it's just showing pictures of the art, but you're talking about whatever's passionate to you.
Whatever's important to you.
Yeah.
That's so true. And it's funny because they will start to connect. You know, I watched this, I spoke about this in the last podcast about an artist who is an artist with autism, and she does like point dot mandalas. And the truth is that the reason why she loves doing it is because it creates a sense of order. And that's something that is deeply enjoyable for her. But she actually uses it as a platform to talk about autism and to talk about all the different bits, and just to make people who also have autism feel like they're not alone. And it's also to communicate and educate people who have never come across it to understand what it actually means. But because you could originally be like, well, what's that got to do with dot painting? But the truth is that it's got everything to do with dot painting. She's creating order out of chaos, and she's creating these pieces that represent what autism means to her. And when you see those images, I think of now, like when I see her artwork, it's now not just the visual aspect of it, which I do see and it's beautiful, but I think about all these different things, you know, and really it's just a billboard to remind people to think about what's most important.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, well, what's your top 3 things?
So my number 1 is take the time to find out your why. I know, you know, it's so easy to skip all that, but you're just going to be on the same path as you are a year down the track, thinking, what's the point of doing this if you don't go back and find out why it's important to you, what you're doing. Like that autism story, fantastic. Who would have put autism and art and connect that? So, you know, she's making a difference. She's making a big difference through her art. It's perfect. Number 2, find a way to do it that you enjoy. So if you set yourself up with something that you enjoy, if you like getting on camera, get on camera all the time, have a chat with people. If writing's your thing, start writing, but just find a way that you'll go, I like doing it if I do that, because it is a daily thing and it is something that you should be doing often. So if you create a way that you go, I like doing it like that, nailed it, you know. And it's the same again, it doesn't matter if it's the same way all the time. At least you're starting, at least you're getting out there, see how it goes. And number 3 is consistency. If you're not going to do it, if you're going to do it once every 3 weeks, you're never going to get round to getting a following, getting your sales. It's just going to be very, very difficult. So set yourself up with some schedule of how you're going to make it work for you and how you're going to be consistent, how you're going to enjoy it, how you're going to be consistent, and have fun with it.
And also consistency with the messaging as well, you know.
Yes, don't be all chopping and changing all over the place, especially, you know, when you're starting as well. I suppose, you know, later on down the track, you might be able to broaden when you've got your audience and let them know more of you. But, you know, giving them everything all at once might just be confusion. You know, you have to weigh that up for yourself. But it could just be you know, this is where I'm at the moment. This is what you want to talk about, and just be consistent with that for a while and see how you roll.
100%. Well, my top 3 is number 1, create content No one is going to turn up at your door and want to buy your stuff or even want to hear about you if you don't let them know. Don't be the world's best kept secret. So create content. Number 2 for me is quality doesn't necessarily mean effort. You can produce high quality things with low effort. It does take a bit of thinking, and just remember that it's not the algorithm, it's you. You know, if don't think about it as algorithm, it's audience. So it's you know, it's not the audience, it's you. You've got to make the right content for the audience. Think of it that way. And number 3, authenticity and enthusiasm go so far. Like, share your story, share your mission, share your purpose, share your values, but it doesn't matter if you fumble over your words. It doesn't matter if you are concise, or, I mean, if you can, great. But the truth is that if you're just passionate about it, that means more than anything. Everyone can be very forgiving of everything, you know, but if you're passionate, people feel it, they want to be around it. And the people that also believe in what you believe in will come with you, you know, because like a lot of people say to me, like, oh, how do you find, like, let's say, high net worth art collectors? How do you find people that will spend tens of thousands of dollars on your artwork? And the answer is that they're already following you. They're already there. A percentage of all the people that already follow you will, you know, are people that will invest in an expensive original art, you know, because art is a luxury good. And there's also lots of people that will buy prints or, you know, the cheaper things as well. But the point is that it's already out there. They're already amongst the people that you attract. The point is attract the people that are in alignment with your values and your purpose and your mission. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to worry about, oh, am I going to be attracting high net worth people or not? Like, doesn't matter. They're already there. You just got to write. You've got to share the meaning and the things that are important to you, and the right people will come. And I know that sounds crazy, but you put the word out there and you put it in front of enough people, and, you know, and if you're enthusiastic and authentic, and I mean, authenticity is super important. You can't be like, and I get it, right? When you are starting to make video content, especially, right? And I implore everyone, even if you don't find it super fun, to just start, because it does get easier. Sometimes we don't like things because we don't really know how to do them, but it just takes a little bit of practice. Just give yourself a little bit. And if you still don't like it after that, it's fine. But at least give yourself a fair shot, right? But yeah, if you know, if you're saying things that don't really resonate with you, if you create a purpose, mission, and values that are just made up to sound good, but it's not, you don't really believe in them, people can tell. Everyone can tell. You know, and none of them are meant, the strange thing is, it's not meant to sound good to anyone. Strangely, it's just got to resonate with you. And you'll find that your vibe will attract your tribe, right? There's that saying, and it's so true. So that's my 3. Anything else you want to add, Chris?
No, that authenticity though, that's so important, isn't it? You know, we watch other people's things and think, oh, we should be doing that, should be doing this. But if that's not you, just do not do it, because it will just be a disaster. You know, and authenticity leads to great conversations as well, doesn't it? Because 100%. You know, they're talking to you about what you want to talk about. They're not talking to you about some random thing that you think, oh God, I've got to message these back. You know, but when you're engaged in the conversation, because it's what you authentically want to chat about,
right? I mean, you're building a community of people that around the ideologies or whatever it is that you really believe in. And look, when you start, again, things change and you do develop, and sometimes you practice by looking at someone you admire and copying a little bit and seeing if it fits and it feels right. But if it don't feel right, move on. You know, that's for sure. All right. Well, as always, if you've got any questions, ask us in the comments below. If you want to have anything answered, of course, we're going to have all the social media links down below in the description. Make sure you give us a follow so you catch all the future episodes. Next week, we got a doozy. We're going to be talking about 5 things that will kill your art sales dead.
Can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. And we're going to be talking about what you should do instead. Anyway, until next time, keep creative.
See ya.